Meeting. Whakataka te hau ki te uru. Whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta. Kia mā tara ki tai. E hiake ana te atakura. He tio, he huka, he hoho. Tihei mori ora. So good morning and welcome to our last committee of the whole meeting for 2021. And can I also acknowledge the amazing choir of council staff who serenaded us as we came into the meeting this morning as well. That was excellent.
Mr. Chair, could I seek leave to provide some light entertainment to begin the meeting?
It sounds as though it's about to happen.
We were going to finish on time.
Very good, very good. So Pauline, thank you for getting the meeting off to a great start.
Come on,
Perfect.
buddy.
Thanks for getting our meeting off to an excellent start. All right, so we've got no apologies this morning. We've got Councillors Chu and Goff by Zoom, and we've got Miles McConway on Zoom this morning as well. Declarations of interest. There are some declarations noted here. So Councillor Scandrett in respect of venues Otatahi, and Councillor Mike Davidson and myself relating to Christchurch NZ. If any other matters of conflict come up as we go through the meeting, please make them known. Item 3, confirmation of previous minutes. I'm happy to move the minutes of the 25th of November. Sarah Templeton will second. All those in favour say aye. Against, that's carried. Resolution to include the supplementary report. Item 17, Christchurch NZ Holdings, Expanded Economic Development Agency and Capitalisation. Sam will move. Mel will second. All those in favour say aye. Yanni.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to ask a question why this isn't needed to come as a supplementary.
Because the paper was still in development until late yesterday afternoon, or until yesterday.
Well, that's not really, I mean, is that grounds in the Local Government Act?
We only had the workshop last week.
Just in regards to public transparency, we normally, have protocols around supplementaries. Is there any reason why this paper can't wait?
Well, that's up for staff to determine whether there is a reason why it can't wait. But this has been customary practice for matters of this nature to come before the council. There are reasons why it cannot be delayed, so it's been brought at the chairperson's request to the meeting.
We've got a letter of expectation to Christchurch NZ that needs to be approved today, and obviously this paper feeds directly into what's the content of the letter of expectation.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So I'll now put the motion to accept the supplementary report onto the agenda. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? So Yanni's voting against receiving the supplementary report. If we can note that, thank you. And that's carried. Thank you. Public forum. We have no public forum presentations this morning. Item 5, deputations. There are none. Item 6, presentation of petitions. There are none. So that now takes us to item 7, the Canterbury Multi-Use Arena elected member update. So Alistair, and joined by Chair Barry Bragg, welcome to the table. Thank you for joining us. Any introductory comments, and then we'll move straight into questions.
On behalf of the board, Thanks for approving the statement of intent and the insurance management plan and the early works package last week. It was good discussion. We've taken a lot of feedback from those meetings, and we are working toward quite a comprehensive workshop with Council on the 25th of January. It's going to cover the prelim designs in quite a bit of detail. We're also going to talk about what happens at the developed design stage and how we get through to the DNC contract. A deep dive into the financial risk, the program delivery risk, and the project fundamentals. And given the feedback on the engagement and comms strategy, we're going to do a deep dive into that plan as well. So rather than we'll wait for the quarterly report, we'll take you through our engagement program, not only in terms of the project update, but also building the profile for the arena, part of which is obviously already started when we released the preliminary design images over the last month. So happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on this paper, Yanni?
Thank you for the work that you're doing on what's a very complicated project. I was interested just to understand when we're likely to have a good assessment of the traffic impacts in regards to the design. One of the things that was raised in the integrated traffic assessment was until we know where the key entrances and exits are and the egresses are, that it's quite hard to look at the local roading infrastructure. So just wanted to kind of understand at what point will we have some, I guess, certainty or greater clarity around the traffic impacts.
25th of January workshop.
Right. Cool.
So as part of the presentation of the preliminary design, we'll discuss egress and ingress into the arena.
And are you looking at the budgets that we currently have attached to those projects in terms of the traffic and how we can maximise value out of those with the design?
Yeah, so we have done, obviously, we've been working closely with our transport team and the bids under the AP system with regards to bringing funding back in future years regarding intersection upgrades, the roads upgrades around the Madras, Barbados, Tuam and Hereford Street. All of that work is coordinated and programmed with the design team from Kortui at the moment. So our engagement with Tim and the team is Tim Cheeseborough and the team is huge at the moment. So we're more than comfortable to bring back all that information when we present on the 25th of January.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
Yep, kia ora. And it's good to have these regular updates. It's terrific, actually. And I'm wondering, what has been the public reaction to the preliminary designs that were released?
It's great when you can get that question somewhat a little bit earlier, because they can put Simon Macker under the truncheon, if you will. And he's come back to us with a really, really succinct sort of response. Our Canterbury Arena website has tripled its viewing figures in the last 4 weeks. We've just gone from probably no one really looking at us to triple the amount of hits on the website. We've media pickup on the stories that were published from the 9th of December. We had the Press, News Hub, 6 p.m. News, the Radio NZ, New Zealand Herald, News Talk ZB, Rugby Pass and Australasian Leisure Management, all picked up stories. There was media releases from Christchurch City Council, Basics Watpac, but what obviously occurs is there's an absolute washdown, a hierarchy of all the sub-trades and contractors that working on the project at the moment from the design teams have also created a bunch of interest through LinkedIn and all the other media streams. There's 2 Newsline stories around the naming of Te Kaharoa. It's been all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and LinkedIn, and I think we've on our Facebook stats on the December the 3rd announcement, we had 51,000 people reached, and we've had numerous reactions and a 98% positive reaction to the whole story and the presentation of that story. And obviously we've got an e-newsletter that goes out regularly as well to 623 subscribers, and anything over 40% opening rate is a positive win, and we've got 47%. So that's a succinct sort of overview of where we're at, but we're monitoring this constantly now to sort of see what the information that we present, and there is a long-term communication and engagement plan that's going to impact that as well. So yeah, thanks for asking the question.
Sounds incredibly positive.
Yes.
And exciting. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yanni, you've got a further question? Yep.
Sorry, I also meant to ask about how it's going with the NG building and whether the design's incorporating any sort of historic features of the area.
So the Ing building owners are continuing down the pathway of managing the movement of their building. So we request an update every month for our PCG, so our control group, just on the status. And I know that they're working closely with council, resource consents, and consenting team as well. So it's just a matter of they've got a date to meet, and they're working towards that date at the moment. So it's positive. They're relocating on site behind the transitional cathedral, so that's the intent, is that they'll move that building to that place and maintain that building in its current state.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, I think that move is under major pressure. I think there is a high probability they're not going to meet the timelines.
Right.
So we're watching it very closely.
Is there anything we can do to help?
To be honest, we're bending over backwards to help. We're trying. We set up all the meetings with the resource consents team, the building consents teams, to ensure that they got good progress through and assistance where we could possibly help them, and we are maintaining connection with them. We can't take control of what they're doing; they have to do that themselves. But we're here to help where we can. But you got to remember, they've got an agreed route and passageway to move that building, and they're working towards that. That's their contractual obligation to the Crown.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great, thanks.
All right, thank you. Nothing. Oh, Aaron.
Sorry, just quickly, Alistair, thank you for coming to the Disability Working Group and listening through the Changing Places presentation. Where will that go to from here, and is that likely to be included?
So I think if you call Gilbert Gouvet is the technical director for B6 WATPAC, he said what we presented was included. So there's no reduction on what we presented, and we presented more than was expected. I think was the consensus in the room. I think with Changing Places, the elements that are in that room have already been costed for. So we've definitely got that allocation in there. It's whether you go down the route of Changing Places as is, or we define what that is as a council and how we're going to work with that part of the community. So yeah.
But you will continue to work with that organisation.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we've got a resolution to receive the information in the report, which I'm happy to move. Jimmy, you'll second. Is there any discussion? All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. Barry, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Greetings of the season, and thanks for the work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, Barry.
All right, so Alistair, you'll remain at the table for item 8, the capital delivery major facilities elected member updates. Any introductory remarks on this report?
I might just, because these become quite old in the process, so
Yep.
I just might just go through them quickly just to give people a heads up. So the square in the surrounds, phase 3A and 3B are the old post, just in front of the old post office building. So the old post office building is due to be complete by Armitage Williams very shortly. So we've actually geared for our hard landscaping to occur to meet their programme needs Q1 2022. So early next year, you'll see fences come down, hard landscaping go in, and it'll start to pep up that area of the square. Just a quick update on the MB requirements for the MIQ facility. We are following that up at the moment. We've got 2 people from within council, John Meeker and Andrew Wheely. We're working hard to find an alternate place. We are hitting brick walls everywhere, to be quite honest, because not everyone, it's a bit of the NIMBY, not in my backyard syndrome. So we're trying our best to facilitate a space where they can exercise. But it's a close partnership with MB at the end of the day, and we'll maintain that relationship. Performing Arts Precinct, just to confirm, ProTrans will have finished their sheet trenching works this week, which is in preparation for ground remediation and digging to the water table. That work is in place. It's ready now, in a state of readiness for the new year. And obviously, if we can keep the water table as low as possible, we're working on the basis that we can excavate and then start layering in the backfill material that needs to go in. Just the contractors, we continue to work with the contractors that have created an expression of interest for the main construction. The Wilson's car parking building, the public consultation closed on the 13th, so we'll start to work through the process to evaluate that, and we're coming back to council in February next year. And the expression of interest is still being under evaluation for the use of 128 Armagh Street. Old Municipal Chambers is going great guns, I'll be honest. It's probably one of for one of the most broken projects, it's one of the best projects. The team there are doing an amazing job in a very, very tight, confined area. If we get the opportunity, I think you need to go and see it and experience it. It's one of those. It's a really important piece of our heritage, and it's a great project, and it's a great team of people doing the work. So there's a lot of activity going on at that building at the moment. We've even looked at a minor variation, which is to replace the lift in totality. There was an allocation in the budget to repair the lift, but to be quite honest, it's such a small sum of money between new and old, and considering it's got a 50-year life when you put a new lift in, it's probably worth us doing that. So we're just reviewing that at the moment to instruct that. Hornby, we had some great excitement around the piling arriving, but then the piles wouldn't actually go in the ground. We weren't achieving friction rates that we required on the piles, so we've had to do a bit of a redesign, but that's not held up the project. It's just meant that the design team have worked faster and quicker and more efficiently to get an outcome that meets the needs of the in-ground structural work. And Parakiori continues to work at a pace. There's 20 plus work streams at the moment on that site, which is huge. They're maxing at 400 plus people on site daily. They are, and as always been, have program impacts, but we can't really talk about them as they're a commercial issue. And I do know that Takaro are working really hard to deliver an outcome that satisfies the needs of council and CPB. So that's me. Sorry.
Great. Thank you very much. So moving to questions, Melanie.
For the Hornby Leisure Centre, mentions in the report here about the hydrotherapy pool in a report in December. I was just wondering if there's any updates on there. That's it.
No, I believe. Sorry, I am not up to speed on the hydrotherapy pool. I believe Nigel Cox is bringing a paper to council regarding the hydrotherapy pool at some point. So, yep, it will be at this rate. Yeah, without doubt.
Thank you. Phil and then Jimmy.
Thanks, Alistair. Just give me a wee little bit more info on the piling at the pool. Are you not getting a set, or is it not going in?
We're using friction piles.
Yes.
Yeah, and we weren't getting the right amount of friction applied to the piles through the way we were driving them. So we've changed the methodology, and it's a base plate and concrete wrap that's gone on technically, but it's a base plate and the concrete wrap. We were using welding them, but we've decided to concrete wrap them, and we're achieving the friction rates that we require now.
Excellent. Good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Jimmy.
Thank you, Chair. This is a general question regarding to this major facility. Because at the moment, COVID-19 pandemic, so all those global city supply chain cost and election will all affect those the progress of the program and also those the costs. I'm not sure is how to take a positive way to mitigate all those effects.
Look, it's obviously COVID's been around for a wee while now, so a lot of the delivery methodologies that we've put in place are around early procurement of product that we require externally to this country. So we've gone outwards to find that information out, understand the impacts, bring and purchase or declare with steel in particular, it's indenting steel, which is getting it in the line, if you will. We've gone out and purchased early in order to mitigate that issue. If we can find an alternate product, and we'll find that in this country, then people have been looking hard and fast around what we can bring into the country or buy within the country. So there are mitigations in place. There are always going to be delays at the moment, and there's always delays in program anyway. But for me in particular, there is. I believe our team have got. It's probably the highest on our risk registers on mitigations. It's not just mitigations around the supply chain, and it's the material supply chain. It's actually the resource supply chain, which comes from human beings that we require. You can still get material into this country, but you can't actually get the people that you require to sign off on the installation. That's the issue we face, and that's something we deal with through MB.
Yeah, because I'm concern all those major facility, particularly affected by the the kind of supply chain, particularly deliver from overseas those materials.
Yeah, but I think we've got mitigations in place, and we're alerting through our project control mechanisms. We're alerting council to those issues through the PMO and through the reporting we do at the watch list as well. So,
Thank you, Chair.
That's great. Thank you, Anne, and then Aaron.
Alistair, thank you once again. You're over an awful lot of work there, so it's really impressive. Thank you. But I'm just wondering, the MIQ situation, what impact is that having on the work that you want to have happening in the square?
We're in delay from a delivery perspective, but for us as a team, it's probably not come at a bad time because we wanted to go back and reflect upon the whole square and the whole delivery. So with Te Pae Convention Centre coming to light, we did a little bit of early work in that area to mitigate a concern of passage of people, trafficking people through the area. So we've done that work. We've coordinated better probably with the cathedral now than we were before, and certainly with the private sector developments. We're working hard to work with those as well. So what we've done is we've gone back and created an overall design. I think Caroline Ingalls presented something on the 2nd of December, or it might have been 2nd of November, which was an outline plan. Well, we're working towards that plan now, and we expect to bring that back. But what we can do in the meantime is we can maintain the square itself. So we've got maintenance contractors out there doing repairs to pavers where necessary. We've been uplifting pavers across the areas within the cathedral, and we've been storing them out of our Pages Road depot. So we are replacing with what we've pulled up. So we're not. From a sustainability perspective, we're using what we've pulled up. So we're cleaning that and taking it away and bringing it back. So the work that we can do is aligned with the private developer sector. So MIQ is in delay. There's no point in denying that. It's got us in delay, but we're also trying to work with the Distinction Hotel and other property owners to see what we can do about getting an exercise yard nearer or away from. So it's just what it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, Alistair, just a couple of questions. Firstly, around the Hornby Centre, because it was raised at the Disability Working Group, which you were there. So, is there a chance of having a changing places in there? And also, there were some questions raised around the accessibility toilets, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so I asked the question around the changing places at Hornby, and we do have a hybrid facility that's been designed, if you will, and I could probably bring that information back through to council as a post-meeting note, because I know that we do have it's not a change in places, it's a hybrid that they've thought about, but they've tried to meet the needs of everybody that was engaged with at the time. So it's not a bespoke changing places facility, it's a hybrid.
Right, so because changing places themselves have raised the reasons why they do it that way, and they use the key system and so on and so forth. I think as a council we possibly need to form a policy on which road we go down. So we either say to them, no, we don't, it's not going to be in Christchurch, or yes it is, and we'll do it as best we can. How would we go about that?
Well, I suppose it's RSC direct traffic with regards to facilities within their venues, if you will. So we believe we're meeting the needs of everybody by designing a hybrid facility, not just one part of society, if you will. So it's I suppose it's more a conversation that I need to have with Nigel about the approach going forward, and then how do we best present that approach. So because obviously changing places is a brand, and it's a model that you have to procure, and anybody who uses it has to procure an access tag to go in there. And I suppose that would eliminate a lot of our society that couldn't afford to do that. So
yeah, because you still have a disability toilet or shower or whatever at a facility, but it's a different thing. But in Canterbury, it equates to about 2,300 or 2,600 people would be the people that need to use a specific facility like that, and it's not really for anyone else.
No, appreciate that. But again, it's we're directed by process. So the answer is I need to go back and talk to Nigel about our overall approach across all of our facilities, and then raise that through ELT.
Yeah, and then maybe bring something back to council so we can kind of make a decision. So going forward, we stop asking the question because we know
That
where
sounds
we're going.
good, so that we've got all the information in front of us at that time once ELT have considered it. No, that sounds good. Thanks for raising it.
And then just one more.
Yeah, sure.
And the other one is around Parakiori, and that is the hydroslide.
Yes.
Is it going to be accessible or not?
No.
I mean, it's not.
No.
Why
I think
not?
if you remember last time when I was here last, I think Nigel was just about to push the button on the release of the memo that was coming to councillors. I'd have to check with Nigel to see what that is, but it's more to do with redesign and cost right now.
But there's a memo that's
Yep.
that
There's a
was
memo
ready
coming
to
as
go to us that presumably still is ready.
Yeah, with regards to the process that the design team went through at the time about accessibility for hydroslides.
So if we can get that information circulated, that would be good, because the exact same issue was raised at the last meeting.
It was,
Yeah, well, you could. So here's kind of my beef, Alistair. I've been asking this for like a year, and it's you get to the point where it's really too late. But I mean, I don't know if the rest of the council are happy, but I won't be going to the opening because I can't look at disabled people in the eye and say you're not welcome at the funnest part of this facility.
Okay, let's get the information back. I mean, we've had the answer to the basic question.
Yep.
Let's get the information back that gives us the background to it. And if there's anything that needs to be picked up from there, then obviously we can do that at that time.
I can do.
Yeah, well, just not very happy about
Yeah,
it.
I
That's
mean,
all I'm trying to
I
signal.
already noted exactly the same matter was raised at the last meeting. We were told then that a memo was ready to come out. That's the memo that we now and still need to see.
Yeah, and I do question if anyone else here is comfortable with that as well.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
let's
could we-
get the information in the memo, and that'll give the background to the answer that we've just had.
Could we also see in that memo perhaps a list of the accommodations that have been included in the design for the disability sector? Because I think that would be really interesting to see.
And if we can get that information sooner rather than later, that would be good.
Yeah, we can show them the few bits they can have.
All right, let's get the memo and go from there. All right, so I've got Yanni and then Leanne and then back to Jimmy. Yanni.
Yeah, thank you. Just in regards to the square, just two questions. One is there was comment made to having a sort of overview plan. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where it is. There was.
There's a master plan that's been.
Yeah, the
developed,
master plan. Is it being updated? Like, are we going to get a coherent plan for the square that we see? There was somewhere in here where it made reference to.
Yeah, so there was I have found the wording in the actual elected member update, and it was just there was a presentation on the 2nd of November, which allowed us to, which is the initial draft, and we're now in further development at the moment. So the TSD team are actually developing that master plan right now, which we will be due to bring back to council for review, just to see what we're actually thinking about.
Right. Yeah. So the initial draft's been developed. So, but the work, like the Tapaya work's happening already. Because it's temporary,
which is more about accessibility across from their entrance to our entrance into the square.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the time frame for that? Like it says, there's delays to the landscaping square have occurred. It was decided by PSG that there was an opportunity to review the square as a total concept, which is fantastic. That's great. So, what's the time frame for it coming back to
I'll
us?
have to come back and give you an indication of that, if that's okay.
Okay, cool. And then just the Citizens War Memorial, how's that looking to open?
Well, I'm not actually managing that, but I know that they're if they're 90%, it says in here 90% deconstructed, so I'd say they're probably 100% by now, because this is dated the 18th of November. So it's a slow process, to be quite honest. But I think I could probably give you an update. Can I just give you an update?
Isn't the question whether it'll be Anzac Day next year?
Yep. So I'll give you an update from the program. I'll get an update for you.
That would be really cool. Thank you.
So I went to the site blessing, so the police kiosk is gone. And what we blessed was a hole in the ground where the Citizens War Memorial is going to be reconstructed. And that work was ongoing and imminent. So.
And is the police kiosk still in one piece, or has it just been completely demolished?
Oh, no, it's demolished completely.
So we didn't save any.
Oh,
All right, thank you. So Leanne and then Jimmy. Leanne.
Just following up
Mike agreed with me for
on
once.
Aaron's comment, so it's really directed to you, Chair, rather than a memo. I'm just wondering whether that could be part of the next report, because the one thing that sort of slightly concerns me is that in this particular part of the construction phase, we have the government project management company doing the build on behalf of the city, but we are the client, and this is where we get into difficulties where the client and the project management are two different entities, which is why it was absolutely the right decision to pull the CMUA into the council construct in the way that we have. But when you separate the project management from the client, and they're not coming back to the client for decisions on major issues, then we can't say that we were given the opportunity to make a decision whether to invest additional money into the build for the purposes of creating a unique experience it would be in the country for people with disabilities. So I really would like it to come back here, and if it's too late for us to actually have that conversation, then I would be disappointed. Looking at the construction, and I'm no expert, I'm just wondering if it is entirely too late to have a conversation. It would be at our cost, because it isn't something that was included in the build requirements, and we were capped out at a particular level. So, but could we have the report back to the
next committee meeting
rather than just as a memo?
Is that workable?
I mean, I'm not saying no to the memo. I'm just saying, and then a more full report.
So if we
back
get
here.
the memo out, that gives us the information that we were expecting after the last meeting pretty much straight away, I would hope. But then if the report to the next committee can include that information to the next meeting of this committee.
We also get advice on the parents' room, which I've raised with the family room.
So what's the question about the family room?
Like, initially, designing this, we have an early learning centre there for people, to.
So what's
families.
the question?
The question, that obviously that's not happening. The question is...
Sorry, that wasn't included as part of the design.
No,
So
initially
what's
it was...
the question?
It wasn't included when we finally agreed what was going to be
Sorry,
built.
and the initial whatever, it was raised as an idea, but it didn't go through. But just the idea, the question really was, is there going to be any family room in this new building, like we've got at the art gallery? And I'd invite everyone to go and look at what they've got.
So the
people with
question
young
is
children,
there going to be a family room in this
babies,
building?
where people can, obviously feed or change.
I think the content of the paper needs to be around what is the facility actually offering, and across everybody's requirements. To be quite honest, it needs
if we can pick
needs
that
to confirm
question up as well.
Yeah, well, it needs to confirm what are the facilities. What is the facility actually offering?
Yeah, because there are questions that have come up in the last 5 minutes that come up regularly, and it would be good if when you bring the paper back, that can answer the questions for once and for all, but also give us the opportunity for discussion about what opportunities there might still be. Okay, thank you. Right, so going back to my order of questions, Jimmy, back to you.
I still would like to echo the Aaron and the Melanie one, because this hydrotherapy, we are all aware that's through the fundraising, and also have a council the contingency fee, and also some of the social funders, grant funding, and also the community together. But last time the officer particularly mentioned us, they will present us on the 9th of December last week, the last council meeting, but didn't. But today we still didn't see this one. So fit in those the main the kind of home base center. The timing is important. The other one we can aware, like Aaron particularly concerned.
So what's the question, Jim?
My question is, what's the rationale not presented to the council meeting on 9th of December, even not presented to this meeting? If the next meeting, probably next year, I'm just consider further delay regarding to this.
So is it intended to bring that information, and when will it be coming?
Yeah, just so we're clear, we're working closely to manage a budget that's extremely tight, And we want to get the best we can for the project, and it's noted that the hydrotherapy is an opportunity that has been hard driven by the RSE team and particularly Nigel.
Yes.
And we are working closely at the moment regarding programme about what would be the impact upon the programme.
Yes.
And at the minute, the timing of this paper is not impacting the programme.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about delivery. So for us, it's about transitioning to the design team as well. We have further design that's required. But through good planning in the first place, we did allocate some intent towards what would we need to do with regards to a hydrotherapy pool coming in, and what would be the changes that we'd have to make. So there is some design redundancy in there already that allows us to move quite quickly on that piece. And it's also was part and parcel of the procurement process when we allocated Naylor Love to the project. They were aware that a hydrotherapy pool may hit them and what would be the impact upon the programme, and it was reviewed during the evaluation process as well. So we've tried everything we can from a planning perspective to ensure that it's not going to hold up things. And Nigel is the owner of that particular concern at the moment. So he's working with our team quite closely to understand any impacts in order to inform the paper he's bringing to council.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trying to reassure you, Jimmy. So.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you. Now, a couple of questions from me, if I can, as well, please. So, Performing Arts Precinct, public consultation on the land sale for the car park closed on the 13th of December. Do you know how many submissions there were on that?
There was an awful lot from what I can remember. Yeah, last time I heard it was around 600 plus. But is that
wow, high level of engagement. All right, so that's coming to council in February.
Yep.
And then the request for EOI on 128 Armagh, 4 respondents there. What's the next stage with that?
So it's the evaluation process they're going through at the moment will be then a recommendation to proceed with investigating one of the parties that's currently submitted. I think out of the 4 parties, 3 of them are in alignment with the Performing Arts Precinct philosophy, so therefore they fit the bill. So it's about just our team going through that process and then bringing the paper back to council. So again, if for me to close out this report at the year end with a post meeting, no, it might be the actions that there's a paper coming to council on this part of the Hornby Centre, and I might just close out all of the actions that I've got from this.
Yep.
Back to councillors so to tell you when the papers are coming into council.
That would be good. Yeah, because I mean that was my next question. When are you expecting to report, or when will the council decision on the EOIs be?
I think I'll come back with a precise list, and then it's done.
Yeah, and then coming back to Parakiori, when we get the update on the matters that have been raised, on the design matters that have been raised, and the inclusions or not, to the next meeting, it would be good to get Otakaro to come along and speak to that, given that they're the ones that are developing the facility.
Okay.
All right. So that's all of the questions. Aaron, further question.
I'm just wondering if in what we move we could have an addition that, because I slightly disagree with the Mayor around any government funding towards that hydroslide. I just think I'd like the Mayor to write to Minister Sepuloni just to bring her into the conversation in case there is an option that now that they have the Ministry for Disability, she may have access to a fund that could help with making it more accessible. It wouldn't hurt to ask and open up that conversation that she make her aware of it, because if it certainly went in, it'd be great to have that minister at the opening of the facility.
How many letters are we going to write?
There's no shortage of paper at the moment, Jake.
But there is a postage.
We've got the report coming to the next meeting. I mean, would it not be better if that was, once we've got the information in front of us as to what's intended, once we've had the opportunity to question Otakaro, that may well be an outcome from that conversation when we know exactly what we're dealing with. Leanne?
I just kind of almost want to back up what Aaron said, in the sense that all I was saying was that there wouldn't be an expectation that Otakaro would meet the cost because it was an agreed design. But if there are alternative sources of funding, then that we could seek that. But the first thing that we need to know is what's possible.
Yep.
So if the next report tells us what's possible, and then then we can do that. But I'm very much in favour of looking for an alternative source. But I'm just saying that it wouldn't be right to put it on Otakaro at this late stage.
Yep, but I imagine, I mean, good suggestion, but the right time for it will be when we've got the information back from Otakaro in the report. Yep. All right, great. Yanni.
You could also write to the Minister of Children and Families. Can I just check, Parikore, so it's Q 2023, is that the opening date? Or what's the current opening date?
Q1 2023 is the date they've given us.
So Q1 2023. Yeah. And level of confidence in that date?
Yeah, it'll be a good discussion.
Well, you shouldn't be asking me that question. I can't give you the answer. I'm not controlling the project. That's what's reported to us by Otakaro. So we report to you what we're reporting.
So that's the latest.
So that's a question, you know,
that's
you
the
can
latest from
store
the
up
PS2.
when Otakaro are
So
in
if
the room.
we get Otakaro to the next meeting, that'll be the opportunity for them to answer those kind of questions front on. And if we know they're coming, it might be good to signal those questions in advance of the meeting.
What we've previously been told is because of legal action, we can't, so
these are all questions for Otakaro, and we'll create an opportunity for that at the next meeting.
I was just trying to understand, when was this date, when was the advice that led to this date given?
That was the 18th of November.
18th of November, right, okay.
That's when it...
All right, so Sam will move, Pauline will second. Is there any debate? So, Alistair, just before I put the motion, thanks very much indeed to you and the team for the work that you're doing. Congratulations to you personally on securing your new role as well.
Thank you.
That's excellent news. And in particular, noting the work you're doing around the supply chain risks and the cost escalations and the early procurement work and so on. I mean, this is, giving us, I think it's fair to say, a high level of confidence through these reports and through the other capital delivery reports that we get, and in fact now some information coming to the Audit and Risk Committee as well around how we're dealing with this work. So thanks very much to you and the team for the work that you're doing, and obviously all the best for a well-earned break, and we'll look forward to receiving further reports in the new year.
Likewise, and thanks for your support.
Thank you. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you. So now moving to item 9, Venues Otautahi Annual Report and Quarter 1 2021-22 Performance Report. So we've got a team of people from Venues Otautahi here, Caroline Harvey-Tier, Dale Andrews and Gil Cox, the chair.
It's Christmas.
And then Linda from our own team as well. So how do you want to run this? We'll take any commentary on the report first, and then there'll be an opportunity for questions, and then obviously any discussion. So Tim, just noting that you're sitting back from this one, and over to the team at the top of the table. Thank you.
Look, thanks very much for having us here, and we're here to really talk about the two things, the annual report and the first quarter report for the current year we're in. Both have been challenging periods. I'm going to ask Caroline, Chief Executive, to run that, supported by Dale. But just a couple of comments if I could start off. We're going to assume that you've read that, so it'll be a pretty brief presentation from us, and then we're open for questions. We will also, I think Caroline probably will give a glimpse into the future where we see things are going. That's still pretty uncertain, but we will give a glimpse into the future as to how we think that's going to unfold in the future. So I won't waste any more of people's time by introducing it. Caroline, over to you to talk about, I think you're going to talk about the annual report first.
Yeah, we'll kick off with the annual report. Good morning, everyone. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I thought it was a little bit more glittery today, given I'm normally quite sullen. So the annual report. So firstly, I might just touch on the report itself, because you'll see it's changed a little bit from years prior. We really wanted to change the flavour and tell a bit more of a story. And you'll see in this annual report, we tell a story of local, a story of resilience, but a story of opportunity. And that's really exciting. Venues Otautahi has community good at its core, and we wanted this to be really reflected in the report. And you'll see more of that in the future. The venues are owned by the community and are here for the community. The social, cultural and economic benefit of events held across the venue portfolio we are all well versed in. And we're proud to reflect on a year, actually, despite the disruption of COVID, that ticketed events alone contributed an estimated 14 million to the economy of the region, which is really positive. We were ahead in terms of major events from our SOI target, so we held 8 versus 6, and again under quite a constrained environment. And overall we delivered around 272 events, 62 of which cancelled as a result of COVID-19. So that number should have been a little bit higher. And it was fantastic to see the town hall back to its glory. We held the most events there, as we continue to always do, and the most variety of events as well. So it's fantastic to see that iconic city-owned venue back to its former glory. Just to touch on a couple of highlights. So COVID, look, I know it's the word that we talk about a lot and we're probably all sick of it, but it's still here. It changed our business, but it changed the world. It forced us to make fundamental changes to how we do business, and albeit that was extraordinarily challenging for the team at the time and has continued to be volatile, it's changed the business for good, and we are well positioned for the future. We're lean, we're agile, and we're able to respond, and you'll see that as how we've responded in this current environment. We changed our name, so that was more about not changing our name, but actually trying to reflect who we are in our name. So Venues Ōtautahi. We are venues and we are Ōtautahi. Now it does what it says on the tin. It really reflects our connection with our cultural heritage. It enables more of our local procurement strategy. And it really reflects our focus on marketing the venues, not the business, which is the most important thing. It's the venues that create those memories, not Venues Ōtautahi. We celebrate and source local. We've talked a lot about this, but we're really proud of it, and it's a real highlight of the year. As of November, we procure 84% of our food and beverage now locally. Before April 2020, that was 5%. There's 9% of that remaining 16% that comes from the South Island and the North Island, and now only 5% that come from overseas. What we've done is we've changed our menus so we can source locally, as well as finding really niche operators around the region that, you know, we've just recently found a local lentil producer on Banks Peninsula versus getting them from France. So we didn't even know that there were lentils in the Banks Peninsula. So it's awesome. So those things have really changed the business. And what it's also done is actually reduce our operating costs internally. So not only it's a genuine win-win. We're forecasting 1.7, 1.9 and $2.1 million of direct contribution from local procurement in the coming 3 years. So that's also exciting. And what we'll continue to do is take it outside of just food and beverage. And we always do anyway, but as we can, try and procure all of our products and services locally. The Canterbury Multi-Use Arena. So obviously we are well embedded in the CMUA design. And we feel really privileged to be in that role, really privileged to be able to manage that facility on behalf of the community when it's open in 2025. And what we're really doing at the moment is ensuring that those design fundamentals are reflected. So operational functionality, guest experience, the genuine multi-use ability of that arena, but also maximising the commercial opportunity for the city. And one real focus from now is actually building community engagement with that facility. We want to be the voice of the venue, create excitement, create aspiration for what is going to be a stunning venue, but one that is a genuine symbol of post-earthquake recovery. It's the last of the anchors. That means something. It's a place of togetherness. It has endurance and strength now in its name of the Precinct, and we're excited to be able to lead some of that engagement and community connection with the venue. And lastly, just a note on team resilience and collaboration. Our team has gone through the ringer, as have many in Christchurch and across the country in this environment. But when we lost 60% of our team in June last year, that was really tough for those that remained. And I've got to say that the positivity, collaboration, grace and integrity of our team over the last 12 months has been outstanding and a real highlight of the year. The financials. So despite those challenges, we have had operational performance that has exceeded expectations. We've had an over budget event revenue, 1.5 million over, and we've managed to reduce significantly our operating expenses. And that really is about changing the way that we work. We have a cost model now, which positions us well for the future. And we've also had a positive net operating profit, which again, despite the challenges of the year, we're really, really proud of. So that's probably the highlights of the year and the annual report, and happy to take questions. Thank you.
All right, so questions on the annual report at this stage. So Jimmy and then Yanni.
Okay, thank you for the report. Very good. But regarding to the kind of the how do I say? Maybe the in partnership, with or collaboration with our stakeholders. I'm not sure regarding to the current update status between the venue of Otatahi and the Royal Air Force Museum, because they didn't have the kind of display or exhibition center working together with the venue of Otatahi. I didn't see any report in here. So what's the
around the Air Force Museum?
Yeah.
So the Air Force Museum is one of our venues that we manage on behalf of the Air Force Museum, and those all of our reporting includes that venue as one of our key venues. So we don't reference them separately. We actually include them in just like we would any of our other venues.
There was one major event also held at the Air Force Museum, which was the Van Gogh Alive. So that was one that was recognised that we partnered with Air Force Museum in the year.
Now the new commission is open and also temple open. Whether those relationships still maintained.
We still see it as a really viable. We've actually just agreed a new commitment with Air Force Museum for the next 3 years. It's a really nice addition to the portfolio. It actually gives a variety of offerings, and that's a benefit of Venues Otatahi, having a diverse range of offerings. A lot of, particularly a business event, for example, might have a conference there, and it may even be that partnering with Te Pai, that someone has their convention at Te Pai but has their gala dinner at the Air Force Museum. That really offers something different.
Thank you.
Yanni.
Thank you. Just three questions from me. First off, thank you for the work that you've done around that local procurement, and I just think it's really fantastic. What I'm interested, I guess, to just understand a little bit more about is how transferable that is to other council organisations. Like, are you doing any work looking at growing that strength of the council family, if you like, to get the benefits? Is that something that can be kind of shared and developed further in that regard?
Well, that'll be a wonderful opportunity. We talk a lot about it. We're really proud of it. And so where we can, we will certainly be talking about the benefits of that. I mean, inherently choosing local makes sense. But I don't think it's always understood that it actually can benefit your bottom line. So it's certainly something we're very happy to share, and if others can learn around the council family, that'd be fantastic.
And just in terms of understanding what that's meant for staff, have you transitioned from a contractor to directly employing staff?
We have always directly employed our staff, and we brought our outsourced catering in.
Right, so it was the catering.
Yes. So on the 1st of April 2020, we ended that long-term arrangement. I think it was 25-year contract with Spotless, and all staff came across to Venues Otatahi then.
So maybe we might like to think as a council how we can encourage the other council companies to look at what's happened there. So the other two questions from me. One is the point that Jimmy makes around, I think previously, it would be quite good for us to understand how each venue is performing. And I don't know how easy it is to break down, but certainly there were concerns in the past around the viability of some of those venues, and it would be quite good just to know how each one's tracking if we could.
Yanni, I think that's a good point, but I think also we've got to bear in mind that we manage the portfolio of venues to try and give those that are attending the best experience. So it might mean that you direct or try and encourage an event to go to a particular venue as against another one, because it's actually better, they'll get a better experience.
Yeah.
So I think what you're suggesting is a good idea, but at the same time, we've got to remember we've got a portfolio and we're trying to manage the total portfolio to give people the best
Just
experience.
in the past, when we've had reports from B-Base, what's been really clear is there's been one or two venues that have really required a huge operational subsidy, and you kind of wonder why the community should be covering the cost of some of those venues, but then you don't also see the community benefit directly. So that's why I thought having the information on each one's quite good. And that just leads to my final question, which is the in your targets, it's really good to see that you've exceeded the ability for sorry, I'm just trying to give you the page number, page 59, which is make venues available to support local, cultural, not-for-profit and charitable organisations. And your target was 30, at least 30, and you've done 45. You've also talked about the quantum, but is it possible to get a breakdown of like what groups have been able to access the venues and which venues are being accessed? And then the question was also related to that is, have you identified any issues with people being able to access the venues from the community? Like, is there any kind of things that you've seen that would make us think we might need to do more in that space? Even though you've exceeded your target, I'm just interested if you've had feedback from groups around, you know, cost, access to catering, barriers to being able to use our venues. Thank you.
So first question, yes, absolutely. I'm sure we can provide a breakdown of the types of groups that have had access to that community rate. Secondly, we're continuing to focus on building that accessibility to the venues. We haven't heard much of any negativity. I think where we can see an opportunity, though, is creating flexibility. So if you think about short lead times for the town hall, for instance, making those available in a shorter lead, maybe allowing a breakdown of the day so someone may not have to pay for the whole day of venue hire, if that's something that we can do. So we're constantly looking at other ways whilst maintaining the commercial viability of the business as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So Sam, you'll move, Jimmy will second, and I've got a further question from Anne.
Just a quick one. Thank you, Caroline, for an extensive and really positive report. Just wondering about the term cultural rate. What does that mean? I'm just wondering if you can explain that.
Yeah, it's actually not really what we use now, to be honest. It's community events.
Right.
So it's those events that attract a reduced rate, and it's a community rate. So that report, it's probably not quite.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this has been moved and seconded. So thank you very much indeed for the reports and for the commentary. Appreciating that you're continuing to work in what really is a unique, uncertain and extremely challenging environment. Realising that events and hospitality are two sectors that have been affected significantly by COVID and by the continuing uncertainty. And I'm noting the comments about the way that the staff, the team have really pulled together and have responded to that in some remarkable ways. So that comment certainly landed as well. And the other success is the one that's been referred to and that's referred to well in the report, is what you describe as the year of celebrating and sourcing local. That local procurement piece not only is great for your organisation, our organisation, but also for the city and the region, and actually is an exemplar, and it was alluded to through the questions, of the way that other organisations actually could be supporting the region in the same way. So thank you and well done.
Thank you.
Yanni.
I was just going to, obviously just echo what you've said, but I wondered if we could just record a resolution to acknowledge the significant impact that the local procurement and the use of local procurement and suppliers has had, and we thank B-Base or VO for that. I just thought it would be nice to positively recognise that in our minutes. In terms of
so if you want to dictate some wording, we'll get the staff to put it up.
Yeah, just that council acknowledge with appreciation the benefits of VO moving to use local procurement and suppliers, something like that. Yeah, and yeah, local
Happy with that?
procurement and local suppliers or local producers.
Local procurement and local suppliers.
It's just such a good news story.
Producers
you know,
and suppliers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Yanni, you're comfortable with that wording. So our mover and seconder, Sam, Jimmy, you're comfortable with that. So we'll just incorporate it. That's fine. Successful move. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Happy with that? Okay, great. Is there any further comment? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And greetings of the season.
Oh, no,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, reciprocate that to all of you. Thank you.
All right. Item 10, Council-controlled organisations annual general meetings by written shareholder resolution. I'm happy to move this. Do I have a seconder? Sarah? No comments. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Item 11, Modern Operating Environment Managed Service Partner Procurement Plan. We've got staff for this one. On Zoom. So everybody's on Zoom. All right. So who have we got on Zoom? We've got Simon. So Simon, good morning. Is he there?
Good morning, Chair and Committee.
Excellent. Good morning. So are there any introductory remarks that you'd like to make on this report before we move to questions?
Yeah, if I may take the report as read and just go through some key points.
Yep.
Okay. So we're in a position after being with the current provider for the last 10 years or so. We're in a position we should be going to open market just to test what the IT infrastructure landscape looks like now. We feel that's the best thing to do. The current provider and platform has served us well over those last 10 years. However, the world has moved on a lot over that time, especially in the area of technology. So what we're looking for as part of this procurement plan is we're seeking a strategic partner to work with us for firstly transitioning the services, but also the ongoing support for whatever those services end up being. Overall goal of the exercise is to improve the services further that we're making use of, enhance those, but also ideally look for lower cost model as well. I note it's not strongly referenced in the paper, but I did want to call out the digital strategy alignment. It does include getting the basics right, improved resilience, value for money and modern architecture. I think that's the four key tenets of alignment of this procurement exercise with our digital strategy. But other than that, happy to take questions.
All right, Simon, thanks very much indeed. Are there any questions on this paper? So Sam moves, Sarah seconds. Yanni, you've got a question?
Just under 7.2, obviously, you say that its expected cost will initially be more expensive during the transition and then will become more cost effective. At what point, like how many years do you think it will take? Like, have you got a sense of, just at a high level, not specifics, but what's your sense around when it will offset itself and not be more expensive?
Look, we need to gather a lot of information by going out to market to have a solid plan around that. We're expecting the transition will likely take, at a guess, probably 2 years. We have a lot of server infrastructure that we need to look at right sizing and look at what's fit to move to different places if we end up doing that. So I would have thought we'd probably...
I didn't hear the length of time.
Yeah, you broke up at the end there, Simon. Do you want to repeat the last couple of sentences?
Looking at a probably 2 year, looking at some of the savings and parallel. Sorry.
Yeah, you broke up there. We didn't hear everything you said. If you could just repeat what you said in the last 30 seconds or so.
Okay, sorry about that, Chair and Committee. At a guess, without having all the information from actually having gone out to market, my estimate would be we'd be transitioning over 2 years Because we have a number of servers and that infrastructure at the moment, there will always be a bit of a tail to that. We'd look at realising cost savings through that whole time of transitioning. Where it does mention in the paper there could be a bit of a cost peak, that's because we'll be running dual environments at the same time as we're doing the transition from legacy to new environment. So we're expecting a little bit of a cost uplift and then some potential cost savings to be confirmed by going open market.
So when we get the models back or the requests back, then that's when we'll have a very clear understanding around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also around levels of service and so forth too will be a big lens we put across it as well.
All right, thank you very much. Aaron.
Yeah, just a quick question under 6.5. We will ensure that the supplier that is awarded the contract will have the same sustainability goals as council. A couple of weeks ago, we all updated our devices because we went from servers to cloud. Sorry?
Yep, keep going with the question.
And the servers were stored just down the road using renewable energy, and the cloud, from the technician that I spoke to, said was mainly in Sydney, Australia, which only has 7% renewable energy. So how do things like that happen? I mean, they use mainly all our emails and that now are being served by brown and black coal. So I don't know that necessarily aligns with the council's position. And who looks at that and who checks?
I'm sorry, Aaron, I cut out there for a moment for some reason with the connection. I caught the tail end of what you were saying there. My understanding is our procurement frameworks do take into consideration both local and sustainability as well. I don't think it's any mistake that both Microsoft and AWS, for example, have chosen to build some massive data centres in New Zealand. Those are still several years out, but I'm speculating the key driver for that will be getting into more renewable energy countries and regions, for example.
They offset, yeah, but you can offset all you want, but you've still created the carbon unnecessarily, because 2 weeks ago all our emails were clean because our servers were literally just down the road and using 100% renewable energy here in the South Island. But now our emails are all powered by brown and black coal in Sydney, Australia. So sorry, Melanie?
Okay, so let's give the staff the opportunity to
example.
answer. If there's a discussion to have, then let's either do that in debate or later.
Well,
has the question been answered?
Well, not really. It's like things will match our goals, but and yes, in years to come we'll use clean energy for our emails, but we just switched.
So what's the question?
Well, the question is how did that one get past the goal?
So to what extent in 6.5 do you consider the energy sources regarding the storage facilities that are used for the systems that we're using?
Well, the question really is, what's the difference between say and do? Because on here we say, but in reality we do the complete opposite. So the question is, how does that happen?
Is that a question, Simon, that you can answer?
What's that?
Well, I think if we
how do we get that
example, that Aaron's put forward there, that one was a result of us having two contracted parties already in place. That naturally where everyone is going is M365 in the cloud, with even local providers moving away from hosting emails locally. So between current provider and contracts we have with Microsoft, was something kind of got worked through that way within existing, I guess, commercial and agreement constructs. But this will give us our opportunity to review that properly, because it's a robust open market process.
Okay. So, I mean, you've made some comments. Clearly, you're talking about something that's already happened, But what we've got here is a report about things that will happen or could happen in the future. You've highlighted the issue, and we've had some comment back from staff. All right. Now, Elizabeth, welcome to the
Hi,
table.
sorry I'm late.
That's all right. No problem. So Simon's been answering questions that have been put. Are there any further questions that people have? All right. So this has been moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So let me now just check. Christchurch NZ will be here when?
11:30.
11. We can't get them here any earlier than that.
Linda was on control of that.
Because we're now at 10:42, which means that I've achieved my target with 3 minutes to spare, which is good. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Let's whip into PX then and do the PX agenda next. And then come out of PX, take morning tea and come back and do Christchurch NZ at what looks like 11:30. All right. So I will now then move to exclude the public for the reasons set out in the report. Do I have a seconder? Jimmy will second. All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you.
Great. Well, we might get into it. Everyone, Linda, do you want to run us and Leah, do you want to run us through your bit? And thank you to Christchurch NZ for coming along as well. And I see we've got Mike here as well. That's fantastic. So can you run it through, and then I guess if there's anything, Therese and Laura, you want to add, or Paul, and then we'll just go to questions and then move it forward. And obviously, just noting, I think it's the last paper of the year as well. So.
I seem to always be between councillors and, getting out of here. So, thank you, Councillor McDonald. I just wanted to set the scene. So, obviously, you've received a supplementary paper today. There's been prepared following the the feedback we've received from the extensive workshop that was held with councillors last year in regards to the EEDA. I'm going to accept that the papers have been read. However, I just want to make a couple of comments. The key purpose of the EEDA is to join up urban development as a key tool for driving sustainable economic growth for the city in the medium to long term, with a view to further progressing the city's vibrancy, attraction, prosperity of its residents, and Christchurch's overall standing as New Zealand's second city. Noting that all our expectations of CCOs are underpinned by the delivery of our four well-beings, being cultural, social, economic and environmental. The mandate we are asking for today is a combination of the work the Council instructed CNZ to undertake over the last 18 months. Without being flippant, but to recognise lessons learned, why is this different from the DCL setup? Because we're going to do it differently, because we're going to ensure that there's early capitalisation and engagement, and a mandate to do what is right for Christchurch, creating value generation with an integrated partnership with the Council. But there is still work to do. The agreement for capitalisation is compelling, hence why we are seeking in-principle agreement today to give clarity and certainty to CNZ. However, there is work that needs to be done to ensure capitalisation is done in the correct manner, and hence our recommendation that we request Council staff to work with Christchurch NZ Holdings and Christchurch City Holdings and report back to Council in the new year to seek final approvals in regards to a capital strategy and funding options to support delivery of Christchurch NZ Holdings' urban development mandate, an urban development pipeline of projects and implementation plan, including a decision-making and prioritisation framework, accountability settings and reporting obligations, and a value-sharing proposal with the Council that balances a fair return with the requirements for Christchurch NZ Holdings to retain sufficient capitalisation to continue to perform. And on that note, I would like to does Christchurch NZ want to add anything? Or
We're ready to take questions.
Fantastic. Thank you. That was very useful.
Okay.
And like you say, everyone's obviously had a chance to read the paper. Are there any questions? Yanni.
Just interested in the 20 million. Like, we're agreeing in principle, but do we need any sort of annual plan? Do we need to consult through the annual plan, or like how do we just find 20 million without going through a budget process with the community?
So the intentions at this stage, which is why we need to do some work. So and why we've said that we want to work with CNZ as well as CCHL, because as you'll be aware, DCL's balance sheet still maintains the cash and some assets still retained from the original capitalisation of DCL. So we're going to work with ways to see whether we can utilise some of that funding to actually start the capitalisation. So at this stage, until that report and work has been done, there's nothing more we can consult on or implications to the annual plan.
But I don't quite like if you take the stormwater stuff, I was quite keen to move that we put 20 million on budget to address stormwater quality. But like for this one, we're being asked to approve it in principle without any clear understanding around what it means for the annual plan.
And it's not just cash though. You need to remember capitalisation comes in different forms. Right. But at this stage, we need to do the work. We do recognise that there is funds sitting at DCL, of which we were going to work with Christchurch City Holdings and CNZ to see whether we can utilise the assets, cash and assets that are there to help capitalise Christchurch NZ Holdings.
So just in simple terms, what value does DCL currently have, and what would be the shortfall to get to 20 million?
Well, as I said in the paper, at the moment, the value excluding the capital Christchurch Adventure Park is around that 20 million, which is why we've used that figure.
Right. So it should be rates neutral, is that?
That is what we are trying to do, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I think we're there, aren't we? Tim.
Oh, I just wanted to. Oh, sorry. The second question I had was around 3B. So, how do elected members at a governance level feed into that pipeline of projects and implementation plan? What's the process for us to have governance oversight or input into that?
We will bring that back as a report to actually how the decision-making framework, and the request will be that the council will approve the decision-making and prioritisation framework, and that's where you'll have your input, but not necessarily into the projects, but they will come through as part of that. So this is all coming back to be reported on. So you'll actually have very clear direction about where your feedback can be and will be requested.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to understand if there's like a framework, if we wanted to put areas forward or projects forward, is there a framework that would be looked at in terms of developing that? Or do we just like, if we just pluck an area or a project, do we just say, oh, we'd like this area done, can we do more work on it?
As part of that report back, we can actually see if we can add that section into it for you.
Okay, thanks.
So it's if someone's coming to Christchurch and or looking at Christchurch as a base or to invest in or to set up in, what's the difference to them coming in and approaching you CNZ to say, hey, look, we're in town, to CNZ finding a location, whether it's council's land or another person's land, and trying to negotiate that and try to accelerate that with a private entity or ourselves with our land, to setting up a whole economic development agency?
I'll let you go for that. Kia ora, Tim. I think in relation to your question, obviously private sector investors will still come to Christchurch, and we would work with them through our business attraction team and our investment attraction team, which we already do and we're already funded for. In relation to the urban development function that we're talking about today, it's about targeting areas of the city where we can get best outcomes for city, and then facilitating private investment into that.
So with development, I mean, the economy drives a lot of it, because there's a lot of vacant land, and obviously there are a lot of people aren't building because of the timing of the economy or whatever, or their business. So how will you time that, or what's the judgment on, because I mean, you wouldn't want to build a white elephant if it's not going to work.
So as Leah highlighted, we'll be coming back early in the new year with a decision-making framework for council to work through, which will highlight the reasons why we would invest in particular pieces of the city or particular projects, and you'll get input into what you think the decision-making framework should look like, and then our board will work to that decision-making framework going forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. So I think with Jimmy, and then Sarah's indicated she'll move it. Yep.
Only one question is the EEDA. This is the new agency. It's part of the Christchurch NZ holding limit. Am I right?
Correct.
So if approved, later on mandate and approve, no this particular name still under the umbrella of Christchurch NZ holding limit.
Correct.
Only maximize their function.
Yeah, it's in the Jimmy. It's in the same organisation.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. It will be clarified.
Tim?
Just one quick one. Do other economic development agencies get support from government, financial support? Because I know that there's Auckland examples used, but every now and then.
Correct. So Panuku is Auckland's urban development agency. They've separated it out. It's at a bigger magnitude, but yes, they do get both central and local government support.
And have you, or are we going to explore that side of things, rather than, because I mean, we aren't in a fantastic financial, well, we are actually, but we do want to get rid of our debt.
We see ourselves as a facilitator with council, obviously with local investors, wider investors, iwi, etc., etc. So we will be working with all parties.
And I would say this is the start of looking at all the different tools that are available that other agencies use across the country. A sort of a maturing of what we do to make sure that it's not just the same thing over and over again. We're actually working into some new areas and looking at what we can do and others have done before us.
So do the others get, I mean, if they have government input, then there must be a partnership in there of some kind. So we can look at that.
So we've obviously 2050 has been looking at growth partnerships, and we've been working closely with them, and we would see that the work that the Expanded Economic Development Agency does would feed into 2050 and give us those outcomes we really, really want for the city, where we can get support from central government.
Okay, thank you.
Great, so Yanni.
So, I mean, the one project I think that Christchurch NZ has done, which was previously DCL, was the Peterborough land. Are you able just to give us a high-level summary of, you know, how much we put in and then what the value is that we've received from that development?
Yeah, look, I mean, with the Peterborough project, I mean, the vision for that particular area is around mixed use. And we know over the past few years there has been a few failed attempts at getting a mixed use outcomes on that particular site. The role was very much to subdivide the site to enable the opportunity to work with 3 local developers who have a proven track record in the city. And we worked through a concept process with them, which is now going to be a $90 million investment in that site, which will have townhouses, a hotel, and some commercial office space, both supporting the town hall and also the residential on the Peterborough side.
So I'm just trying to understand it at a high level, because if you look at around that area, you see lots of residential and commercial and hotels being built anyway. So what's the value that's been added by going through an urban development agency?
Yeah, look, I mean, that was about the ability to work with a group of 3 different developers on a particular site and get a mixed use outcome. Previously, we were found, given the size of the site, we weren't getting those outcomes. We are in a different market now, and, you know, as the urban development function would probably look at sites where we would add value where the market is not responding to. And that's something we'd come back and talk to you in the new year about.
Don't need the exact figure, but are you able to give us a sense of if we've at least either not lost money or what sort of gain we've had from that development?
So the land, obviously, as Leah's mentioned, still sits with DCL, which is under CCHL. So we've been doing facilitation work on their behalf at the moment. So they're the ones that hold the detailed numbers in terms of the final outcome.
But are we likely as a council, or as if this new development agency goes ahead, are we likely to realise a significant financial windfall from the fact that we've done this development and we've seen land prices go through the roof?
I think the important thing is that we're looking at with the Expanded Economic Development Agency is the 4 areas of increase in value. So we definitely would hope to have a financial increase, but we would also hope to have the increases in cultural, economic, social and cultural as well, which is really important to us as a city to get the right solution, and the longer term strategic outcomes that will support the intergenerational wellbeing of all of our people. So it's not just about short-term financial, it's about long-term gain, while making sure that we obviously are cognizant of short-term financial as well.
And we've made it very clear to that there's any uplift is shared between us.
Absolutely.
So that they can work through it.
Yeah, I guess the concern is that we're not just providing a public subsidy to private developers to get more profit.
No.
That we're actually, so that...
No, there is no.
Yeah. Okay, so Sarah's moved it. Jake looks like he's seconding it. Is there any discussion? Phil?
Yeah. I know where everyone's going with this, but I won't support this, but I'd be very happy to be proven wrong, and I'm very happy to eat humble pie in the future. So I won't be supporting it because I don't think it's, some things in my head just not quite thinking it's right, but go for your life.
Aaron, and then
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Phil, and Phil and I obviously similar in that sense that we're happy to be proven wrong, and I would like to be proven wrong in this, but I'm not confident that this is the best way to go. So I will not be supportive.
Leanne?
I think this is a vital step ahead for our city. We have, been down this pathway before, which I do understand may lead to a little bit of hesitation and reticence. But when I became the Mayor of Christchurch in 2013, I put 3 things up on my board, and I've left them there just as a reminder of the 3 things that were kind of missing. One was the changes required to our district plan to bring it into the 21st century, and the other was our long-term plan as an educative tool to help people understand what councils actually do and what they can achieve. And the third one was an economic development agency, an urban development agency, economic development agency, enhanced economic development agency, if you will. But it was an urban development agency that enabled us to participate in the rebuild in a different way, because there is market failure there, and at that time there was evidence of that too. We had a government-imposed blueprint on the city, which had been developed off the back of probably the most incredible and inclusive share an idea concept that has ever been created in the world. A wonderful co-creation model, and it didn't achieve it. Have I gone beyond 3 minutes? I've got 30 seconds to go. Thank you. So this is the delivery end of something that has been tried by central government through CCDU, tried by us through DCL, and now enabled by Christchurch NZ. So thank you for taking it on.
Jimmy?
Okay, yeah. I support this one because when the DCL has been dismissed, the criteria we still we need the kind of the new agency for taking a lead for the Christchurch urban development. That's very, very crucial and important. Particularly, we are aware we have a well-being, social, cultural, economic, and environment situation. But the Christchurch NZ, we are all aware, actually is undertaking a prosperous economy and livable city. Let's totally confront with all the 4 beings. And also this development actually is continued improvement, prosperous in this city actually is benefit to all the people and the communities. But in here, I'm quite happy, particularly paragraph 3, because implementation plan, that's very, very crucial. And because there's one aspect of technologization, the other aspect of prioritization, give us all the kind of overall picture and for the further the implementation to make it happen. So the all key stakeholders, Christchurch NZ, Council and the CCHL, working together as partners to highlight, to establish this one. I think we can make it the happen, and also they will present the feedback to the council as well. Thank you.
Okay, I think you don't want to say that. Yeah, cool. I mean, the only thing I was going to say really briefly is I don't disagree, I guess, with Phil and Aaron in terms of, Yanni's going to speak as well, in terms of, I guess, the scepticism in it. And I'm usually the most sceptical on this stuff, but we've spent quite a bit of time with Laura and Teresa and the team and Paul to kind of get a level of comfort that, we need to let them go and do it and see if it works. I think we can always pull it back if it doesn't. But the thing that I like the most in this is, and I was a wee bit worried at the comment before about potentially the financial return, because I think that needs to be front and centre for the ratepayers. And, ideally we get to a point where the whole of Christchurch NZ is self-funding off the proceeds from this development. So I think we need to be really aspirational in this and not lose sight of that. So, look, I get where you're coming from, but, give them a shot. And like I say, we'll give you enough of a leash to go away and do it. But if it doesn't work, then, we will pull that back in. So, Sarah, do you want to? Oh, Yanni, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Look, I appreciate the work that's been done on this, but I'm not comfortable with the process. It's the last meeting towards the end of the year, and we get a late supplementary paper coming in front of us. There may be people in the community that wish to express a view that won't have even had a chance to read this paper, who can't participate in the decision today. I think a proposal like this should really go through our annual plan as a special consultative procedure. It is quite, there's a risk and a reward opportunity, and I think it's something that the public should really have an ability to comment on. So I won't be supporting this today. I appreciate some of the ideas that have been put forward, but I think also the reality is that as a city, we've had so many promises of working with the private sector and getting investors to do this and do that, and it just hasn't happened. And we've spent, I don't know how many millions on consultants and agencies and structures and new entities, and I kind of wonder if there's a more fundamental problem around the underlying assumption that these things can be done in the way that we think they can. From my observation, there's a lot of, if you take Riverside or if you take the Terrace, you see some really good outcomes from private development that haven't needed a special economic development agency. And the ones where we have been involved with, the past, like the Peterborough area, that was pretty concerning, I think, what was the time and energy that had been spent there. But the other thing that seems missing from this, from my point of view, is if you think about the community development and social development, and I don't think you can unlink it. And if you go back to Share an Idea, which was referenced earlier, the people in the Peterborough village came up with a whole community plan for that area that was not really incorporated into what's been happening in that area. So I'd like to see that this go through a much more open and transparent process with engaging our communities over what this sort of agency could look like if it's going to be set up. So I'll abstain from the report today because I think there are some advantages to this, but there actually needs to go through a much more robust process before we commit to it. This is $20 million, a significant amount of funding. And, you know, I don't want to be like a broken record around water quality, but it is frustrating that we've got people that want us to improve our water quality where we can't seem to pass resolutions to put that money on budget. But then for an economic development agency or a multi-use arena, we have no problem finding money outside of the annual plan process to put on budget to support those things.
Thanks so much. I just want to wrap up by saying thank you so much to Christchurch NZ and the team for all the work that you've done on this, and for already proving how well you can do with the pieces with DCL and the outcomes that are being enabled in that space already. I'd like to remind colleagues that Otakaro Limited divested a site and enabled Riverside to go ahead. That was not completely privately led, that was government agency led, and in a way that would enable the best outcomes for that particular patch of land to help regenerate the city. So in a similar way to what an urban development agency would do. There are patches of land and pieces all across the city that are currently sitting forlorn and either underdeveloped or not developed at all. And Christchurch NZ can help with that. An urban development agency can enable private investors, iwi, and a range of others, including social housing, a whole range of things, to get really good outcomes for our communities. And I wouldn't want us to give up on that and give up on our communities without even trying. So I'm really happy to be moving this today. Thanks.
Aye.
So we've got Aaron and Phil against, Tim and Yanni abstaining. And Catherine and Jamie, you're okay? Yep, cool. Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. And I actually misled you before when I said that was the last paper because we've got one more. But I'm hoping it's and now Yanni's changes come through here? I think? Yep. So Yanni, are you happy with that? We'll just include it in. I think everyone will be relatively happy with that, won't they? It was in there in what, 2019? Okay, is there anything you want to add, noting that it's been read?
The only other two things that I'm just going to add in, we have also changed in the from the letter that you've got, the wording that Councillor Scandrett wanted, which was under the Canterbury multi-use arena, where the council expects NZHL to work with the council in supporting venues Otatahi to attract content for the CMUA. Just change those words. And also Councillor Templeton has just asked for some wording changes slightly, just additional adding in of the word sustainability in similar paragraph, 3 paragraphs down, Council encourages CNZHL to be transparent about the social, environmental, cultural and economic returns of the council investment and its activities. Is there another one? Just trying to quickly find them. Oh yeah, and value for money, including measuring returns in terms of economic, social, environmental, cultural. So just making sure we've got the full wellbeings very well. So they're the only changes that have been made.
Perfect. Thank you, Leah. Yanni.
I mean, in light of the Venues Otatahi presentation before, and given that this has been raised at the workshop, I still am a little bit unclear about how, what our expectation is around using local suppliers for procurement, for procured services and events. Are you able just to outline what the expectation is based on our letter?
It's not been specifically added into that letter, but listening to the Venues Otatahi report, I did think, picking up on your question, whether it would be actually worthwhile us trying to facilitate a workshop run by Venues Otatahi with our other CCOs to actually drive some of that, and they can take us through that journey. And I thought that was actually, that's what went through my mind when I was listening to them.
Right.
And then following that, maybe if there's, from where we get from that, maybe you could add in a feedback session.
Because I see that they've changed their procurement to more closely align with council's procurement. So would that include the local stuff?
Yes. Yeah. We're getting the nods.
Yeah.
Great. I think we've covered that off now, and a good suggestion in terms of maybe something for next year. Anything else from anyone? Sarah's happy to move it. Jake's happy to second it. Any discussion? All in favour?
Aye.
Against? That's carried. Excellent. Thank you very much for that.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So all that remains for me to do is to close the meeting. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa pona mu te moana. Hei hora hi mā tātou I te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou I a tātou katoa, hui e, tai ki e. Thank you.